This is Dr. Chris's Radio Horror program here on WCW. If you're not catching this, if you're not catching this recorded interview live when it broadcasts, hopefully you're catching it on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. Tonight on the show with us, from Dark Horse Comic Books, and possibly one of their last books of this franchise, as a lot of people are aware, Alien and Predator are moving over to Marvel Comics, because Disney happens to own the Alien Predator franchise, and they own a comic book company. So this might be the last hurrah of the Alien comic books. And what a way to go out, because this is how, very similar to when Star Wars left Dark Horse and jumped over to Marvel, they put out a comic book that was the Star Wars, based on the original treatment of George Lucas's script. And that was like one of the, I think, the last Star Wars comic book Dark Horse published. This is going to be the last Alien book. And this is Alien, the original treatment by Dan O'Bannon. And the writer of the comic book is on the show with us now, Cristiano Seixas?
Seixas, yeah.
Seixas.
Yes.
Cristiano Seixas is on the show with us to talk about evolving this unmade treatment of one of the most classic science fiction films of all time into a comic book based on its original idea before H.R. Giger, before Ridley Scott, before anything that you're familiar with it. This is what was originally going to be Alien. Thank you for coming on the show with us.
Thank you very, very much for inviting me.
How old were you when you first saw the film Alien? And have you seen it? I'm assuming you've seen Alien.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've seen it, a couple dozen times, actually. That's one of the reasons my friend Guilherme Balbi, the artist, invited me to the project. It was in 79, actually, because I live in Brazil. I live in U.S. for a couple of years, but I'm back to Brazil. And I was like 9, 10, and really scared me. But then I move on. But when I was a teenager, they have a rerun in a local movie theater here, and I watch it on the move screen. So then it got me. Then it really got me. Like you're a really young teenager, and I was reading Heavy Metal magazine and a lot of European sci-fi stuff. And that the movie really got me. The Blade Runner and Alien they stuck to my mind until today. So then I discovered Mobius, the artist, and I have tons of stuff from the guy, even more than Giger, even more than H.R. Giger. I have a lot of Mobius stuff, and I keep following Alien, any movie, and I have a couple comics from Dark Horse as well. But when I first watched it really scared me, and I didn't get it that much. I was too young for it. But later on, man, it really make me an impression, and it's one of the reasons I start working with comics and stuff, because of the visuals of the movie.
Who approached who about making this into a comic book? Was this like Dan O'Bannon's estate? Because I know his widow kind of holds on to a lot of his original stuff. Or did Dark Horse always have it? Because I can't assume this. I can't assume that the script is in public domain. There has to be some licensing, right?
Yeah, they're still owned by Fox, actually. So far, and
so So just to clarify that real quick, the prints of the film are owned by Fox, which means they're owned by Disney. Or do you know how any of that even works? Because, like, for instance, the X-Men films are now showing up on Disney Plus, and they said that yes, Disney owns the X-Men franchise, lock, stock, and barrel. Finally, they own the movies, they own the prints of the movies, they own the comic books, they own all the characters. Nothing is no more owned by anybody else. All the red tape is now finished. Does Disney completely own the Alien franchise, including prints of the film, as well as all original works like scripts?
I think so. Right now they do. I think so. I don't know the legal details about it. I know that the time that we were invited to do the project, they were in the middle of the process. I think they didn't have complete all the legal part yet when I start doing it. But at the end of it, we were, I think, about issue number 3 or number 4. We already have Disney reviewing everything and having the final word for it. But what I want to say is I was most of the time dealing with the editor, the publisher, Randy Stradley from Dark Horse. He was he was my boss for this thing. So I didn't keep in touch with Fox or Disney. I know that they sent to both of them for approvals. And I know they did some minor correction on a couple of dialogue that I did, but that's pretty much it. Actually, we had a lot of freedom on doing this project, more than I thought, actually.
That's good, because then you don't have to worry about any type of interference from like a studio executive being like, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. I don't know anything about comic books, but I'm going to tell you how to do this.
Actually, that it's the best part about working with comic books. That's one of the reasons that I work with advertising. I sometimes work with animation projects, some stuff for mobile games, and some projects here and there, some assignments. But comic books is the medium that I love the most because it's one of the mediums that you have the most freedom to create what you really want to say. And I just love it so much. And I was blessed enough to to have this project on my lap, and I couldn't believe it.
How many issues is this going to be?
It's going to be a 5 issues miniseries, so it's going to wrap up at the end of the year, and after that we're going to have a hardcover with the whole 100 pages that we did. And it's funny because first time that we talk about it, and I adapt the script the way I want it, I wrote about 140 pages of comic books, and I could even extend that a little bit more. But the editor that told me, man, you had 100 pages. You don't have 140 or 160 or whatever you wanted. And you have to fit all the main beats, all the important parts from the original script. They have to be on those 100 pages. You just can't cut stuff out, and you have to do your best to make everything fits. And the good thing is that I have a really really good artist to work with me, and that helped a lot because I had to cram a lot of stuff that I wanted to show, and stuff that I have to have on the script that I want to keep. I had to put both of them together at the same comic book. And I think that was my main challenging on doing this as a 5 part.
When you're adapting the script, are you doing it basically word for word the way originally Dan did it, or do you have to like change some things that make more sense to today's comic book market?
Actually, I tried to keep as much as I could. If you go to the original script, you're going to see there are a lot of the dialogue that's there. And we tried not to change the dialogues that we thought it fit to another character, stuff like that. We we keep it really close, really close. Dialogue didn't change that much. Actually, we cut some redundant dialogue about technical stuff that was taking too long, and just stuff like that, or some slang or stuff that we thought was too 70s and we should have updated a bit. But that was pretty much it because we have the freedom to update the characters themselves. So that was one thing that I love on the Bannon script. It's because he he told the name of the characters and a bit about them, but he never said about the gender or things like that. So me and the artists, we were free to pick up the crew the way we want to renew it. Like we think that the although we have to keep the original script, we want a feeling that it's a sci-fi production for 2020 or 2021, something that you're going to watch in 2 or 3 years from now, going to read it 2 or 3 years from now, and it will feel fresh. You won't feel like you're reading something from the 70s. So that was our approach to it. So we want to take a whole new approach for the visual part and for the characters. And I think that was the thing that uh, I hope you guys like it. That make the approach so fresh to have characters that you would never see in any of the 70s or 80s Alien movies.
How was it working with? Is it Walter Simonson who does the alternate cover?
Yeah, he did alternate covers, and actually, I didn't keep in touch with him because that was he did this stuff after Guilherme and I did the books. So Walter he got the artwork from Bobby, and then he did the covers after that. So the whole design and the new design and everything else is it's Guilherme Balbi's work.
That must be really cool because I mean he's such a legend in the industry.
Yeah.
The real cover, the not real cover, cover A, cover B. Cover A is spooky and weird, and it's got the creature, alien, engineer, the thing from Prometheus, the guys from Prometheus. Is that what the giant wooden creature is? Is that supposed to be the engineer? Right? Isn't that what they were called in Prometheus?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Like,
So, and I know
and
we can't go into too much detail past issue 1. However, the script has been online enough times. This is a 40-year-old script that people are aware of. There have been videos on YouTube and hundreds of hours of bonus content recycled into Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, plus documentaries and interviews with Dan, his widow, everyone else involved in the original aspects of the thing before Giger came on that were not exactly spoiling anything for anybody. But what was is the whole thing like a wooden creature of some kind? I mean, it kind of reminds me of like some elements that were in Alien 3. There's like a whole wooden society that was originally supposed to be the concept of for Alien 3 before it was changed, 100 different ways.
actually, we thought it about it more like a fossil, like a rocky stuff,
Ah,
because
okay.
yeah, we're thinking about something that is there for hundreds of years, and it turned into a kind of fossil. And the colors they made the tone look a little bit like a more woody stuff, but we were waiting for a more rocky formation kind of thing, because the idea he's there for hundreds and hundreds of years, and the thing that we thought a lot about it's how we're gonna do the new design that's totally different, and that's something really interesting about that I always like to talk about, like our approach to how we're gonna tie up a new design to every aspect of this project, and it's something it haven't been done on the alien universe. And the thing we did it's we researched a lot about fractals, about the fractals work and about how they revolve in itself and have this shapes that's kind of hypnotic shapes that you keep looking at them. And we try to mesh that with deep sea creatures, from the abyss. They have that luminescence lights, and they are really scary. And if you see the big panel that Guilherme did for the engineer, you're gonna see that you have this kind of lights over the all the area of the ship that he's sitting in. So we try to keep that through the whole book, approach that through the whole book in a way or another. And the only point that we're trying to be a bit vintage and have a feeling that you have when you see on the Alien movie, it's the spaceships, the interior and the exterior. They sent to us the all the movies, and we watched them and to see how we can keep the feeling of the movie and have the new design. And we thought, hey, the spaceships can't be on the same designs we're doing the alien stuff for two reasons. One reason it's because we have to be sure they are different species. The human race are a little behind the engineer stuff. You have to notice that the technology it's still behind them. And the other reason, it's like, hey, this is a moment that we can connect to to a bit of the designs of the film. The spaceships allow us to do that. You have like this kind of vintage panels sometimes, and you have holographic projections at the same time. So we try to put a bit of both when we're working on the design of the spaceships and all that.
Had you seen the previous Alien comic book that came out? I think it was the original draft for Alien 3.
Oh, actually, I downloaded, but I didn't read it yet. I told myself I'm gonna read this after I publish my book. Now I'm time. I read a bit about it, and I love William Gibson's books and stuff, but I haven't read the comic yet. They are here, they're here in my computer right now, but I didn't read it yet.
And they were supposed to, and I don't know if this is still happening or not, and I don't know if you can speak about it, but the original draft of Predator was supposed to be published, but unfortunately the pandemic has kind of killed a lot of comic books recently, and I believe that was one of the victims of the pandemic, which again makes your comic book, I think, the last published Alien book before it, switches hands to Marvel.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of sad that they didn't have the Predator comic book as well, because we always thought it would be like a dual project, like the last, almost a kind of AVP project that with the comic books itself, you have the same times you have the Predator and the Alien comic book saying farewell to Dark Horse. And I think we just got lucky that we started the project earlier than the Predator one. We could be the ones to be cut out, and we weren't. We were able to deliver the book on time, actually a couple of days before the deadlines, and we are very lucky to have the whole project done before all this madness start happening. And the book was supposed to be released on the Alien Day on April.
Right. Yeah. 426.
Yes. And they have to postpone it till now. So I was very skeptical about the release on August. Hey, I was thinking, hey, will they postpone it again? I'm not sure when we really want to see it on the comic book shops, but now we have it.
It's funny, when they do go to Marvel, it's going to be like Alien, Predator, and an Alien versus Predator book, because I guarantee they're not just going to publish a single comic book per character. You know what I mean? It's going to be nuts. It's going to like what they did with Star Wars, and as long as it's well written, it will sell like gangbusters at Marvel.
I'm very curious about the way they're going to treat both of these franchises. I love them both. I know they release some really nice movies and comic books. They release some really crap stuff, but I love both franchises very much. And I'm curious about how they're gonna deal with it, how much freedom and the moody approach that their new publisher will approach the books. I'm not sure they're gonna do the same approach that Dark Horse did. I think Dark Horse do a really good job on getting a licensed character and going deeper and deeper on working on those characters. Usually they do a really good job at it.
When you're trying to create something new that's never had a visualization before, do you have to, how far from when the issue got printed today, which was supposed to be, printed this week or this month, did you distance yourself from anything Alien related so nothing was influenced by what was going to be on paper? Which I know you're not the artist and you're the writer, but I can understand how you could still start trickling into the back of your brain, Sigourney Weaver, John Hurt, Face Crawler, things like that. Because the style of the artist, who I'm not overly familiar with, definitely lends itself to this completely different look, which is fine because it's definitely more sci-fi in the comic book that I noticed than sci-fi horror, which is what the movie is, because the whole thing was designed by H.R. Giger.
Yeah, I think our approach it's way more sci-fi than a really horror comic book. Of course I can't do any spoilers here, but You notice by the colors is more vivid colors, and the design of the uniform is more sleeky and more modern. Doesn't look like scuba diving from the 40s. Or although I love that design, I think it wouldn't work uh, on an actual movie nowadays. And I think that one of the things that we keep is to have a really, really, really low light. So it's most of everything is really dark all the time. We try to keep that. We put that away when they were in the control room, the deck of the ship, talking to each other. And that part we put a little bit more light. But when they are on the other part of the ships or on the planet and things like that, we try to put it very, very dark because uh, we wouldn't we didn't want to go exactly the same direction that Ridley Scott and Geiger did. Otherwise, our job would be pointless. You know what I mean? If we try to mimic exactly what we already have, it wouldn't make any sense.
And what else have you worked on? Because beyond this, I'm not entirely familiar with your career, but I've noticed you've had a career with Dark Horse prior to this, and other stuff. You've done some. You've worked with DC and Marvel.
Oh, it's funny because people ask them, hey, I can see your name on North American comics, and you really won't because I work as a comic book agent for Brazilian artists for like 6 to 8 years, and I represented a lot of guys for DC and Marvel through an U.S. agent. I was the guy in Brazil to send stuff to U.S. So I was used to read the scripts and review the scripts and see if the guys were doing the right things and go back and forth with the publisher and the U.S. agent. And I love it. And I start doing some local comic books myself and writing it and publish it. And then I did a couple dozen of independent comic books in Brazil, and I get a feel for it, and I still do it. But I never published in US. I did a comic book for Long Beach Comic Con. It's a horror sci-fi, just by coincidence. I think I really like the thing, and I published it. It's called The Agent from the Hive, and I can send you the PDF for that. I released that. It was a 3-part miniseries in Brazil, and US. We just released the first part for the Comic Con, and I never published stuff that I wrote myself in US besides that. But I'm used to working the comic book field for 20 plus years now, and I still work with a lot of the guys in one project or another, like Eduardo Pansica from DC Comics. I was an agent for Iggy Guara that works with Rose, and Rodney Bukemi that does the Kiss comic books and work with Marvel as well. There's Ebe Ferreira. He worked with me when we started the studio. He's just won the Inkwell Awards for best inking. He's the I think there's not Superman inker now, but he was the Detective Comics inker for Ed Barrows and a lot of those guys. So I'm in the field for a long time, but as a writer for Dark Horse, that's the first time.
That's really cool, and yeah, I mean, it's really great that they bring over a lot of like international people like yourself to work on American comic books because it definitely opens the market up. There are so many people.
I totally agree with you. I couldn't agree more. And I saw this happening in a really slow motion kind of vibe because first time I was just going out of college and I said, hey, I want to do comics, but it was like late 90s, and they were hiring the first Brazilian to draw, I think, a DC book. And it's Marcelo Campos from São Paulo, who was the first Brazilian to draw to pencil a North American comic book. And it starts to pick up, and then you had a dozen Brazilian guys from Argentina and Philippines, and it was working, and the publisher were happy about the work and stuff. And then we tried to put some writers working for the North American market, and then it didn't work. Like nobody was hiring Brazilian writers, and nobody was reading Brazilian writers. Not because of the language, of course. You know, you have very few Brazilians that can really write in English. I'm trying to improve as I go, but the thing is, we heard from a publisher things like, hey, they don't know New York, they don't know the slang, and they can't tell us stuff about a character in Brooklyn, you know, stupid things like that.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't believe I was hearing stuff like that from guys that I love the work, you know what I mean? Because then I want to talk back. So you can't tell stuff that happens in Europe. You're not from Europe. You can't put your superheroes in Tokyo. You don't know Tokyo. So you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense at all. So you can't put a Mexican character in an X-Men book because they're not Mexicans. So this kind of argument, it was really bad. You know, wasn't making any writer besides U.S. and UK writing comics. I think that this part started really slow, but now you have way more writers from other countries working the comic books in US and abroad. But mainly was just US. Guys from UK, you know, we both know we have awesome writers from UK as well, and a couple from Canada. But now it's a whole, I think even not only the internet, but I think the streaming thing, you know, that now you have really great series and movies and stuff from a lot of different countries, make people realize, okay, that is this guy from Finland that's really good, we should work with him. That's this guy from North Korea, South Korea, that is an awesome artist, we should work with him. So that is this guy that nobody heard, but he's a nice writer from Brazil that we might work with him. So I think what's happening right now, even with this pandemic stuff, it's making this even better, because people are trying to watch different things, are trying to read different things that they were able to do before all of this. Don't you think?
Yeah. Until you just mentioned it, I kind of forgot you were from Brazil, and I if you're there now, I hope you're safe and healthy, and everyone you love is safe and healthy, because I think Brazil has the second highest coronavirus problem right now behind the United States.
Oh man, we both are not doing good, huh? Not.
No, and it's really sad to hear. So I hope you and your family and friends are healthy at least, or if they have caught it, they've beaten it. So where can people go to send you any feedback about the comic book?
Oh yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. Anyone that want to say what they think about the comic book as it goes along. You know, in a couple of weeks we have the second issue, and I want to hear you guys comment about it. So on my Instagram, it's hard to spell, but if you go to the comic book, you know how to do it. It's Chris without the H. It's Chris without the Chris Seixas, as I'm saying, with an X underline. And if you go to Facebook, it's easier. Just copy paste Cristiano Seixas, and you're gonna get my profile on Facebook. It's an easy one to find. Or you can go to my website. It's cristianoseixas.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show to talk about Alien, the original script.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Let me know what you think of the book.
I will.